You're an
Exactly.
Internet of Things now. So your ears now have their own IP address and they are floating around on the internet.
Something like that. So you can hack into my head if you're really good.
Hello and welcome to another episode of JoomCast, the podcast that features people who are part of the Joomla community and discover how they got here, what they contribute to Joomla, and where they're going with a whole bunch more. My name is Chetan Madan of JoomDev, and I'm here with my co-host, Tim Davis of CyberSalt and the Basic Joomla Tutorials YouTube channel. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Cheyenne. That's I'm going to tell everyone that story. Chayton sent me a screenshot yesterday of
go ahead. Go ahead.
Someone in the forum, on the JoomDev forum, obviously auto-typed, and obviously the person commenting or whatever was not an English speaker first. But anyways, their autocorrect took over, and so instead of calling him Chayton Madan, his name was Cheyenne Madman.
Right. And the person was from India, so it's not like it's a foreign name to them. And I exchanged like 5 messages with that man. I don't know. I exchanged like 5 messages and it was fine in all earlier ones. It's just the last message I got was weird.
I think it's great because a lot of radio and podcasting personalities have alternate names. So I think it should be the Cheyenne Madman and Tim Davis JoomCast podcast.
My stage name, right?
Yeah, your stage name, yeah. For those of you who don't know about Joomla, Joomla is a CMS or content management system for building websites. As of today's recording date, Joomla is running version 3.9.16 stable. And for Joomla 4, we have version Alpha 12, but we hear the beta is coming soon. And so we're all waiting with bated breath.
Let's meet our guest for today, Joe Sonne. Joe is based in Guelph, Ontario, Canada. Prior to founding Joe Sonne Marketing in 2009, which became the Joe Sonne Group in 2019, Joe had a successful career in communication, publishing, and multimedia industry. Joe has been involved with Joomla since 2005. Joe is a very well-known writer and speaker about all things Joomla and is one of the most respected people in the Joomla community. He is currently a consultant to the Joomla Capital community.
Joe, welcome to JoomCast.
Thank you.
Joe, who are you? What do you do? Give us a little glimpse of your personal life.
Okay, so my bio, by the way, which Chayton did talk about, explains it pretty good, except I didn't know I was one of the most well-respected people in the Joomla community. So thank you very much for that. I actually really appreciate that. I'm very, very flattered by that. So pretty cool. So I was... born at a very early age. No, I won't go there. I actually, I started, I basically come out of the advertising and marketing industry. I was a salesperson, an outside salesperson in the graphic art industry for many years. And I got on the tech side of things. My love for technology kind of blended with what I was doing, and I worked at one of the largest graphic art companies in Western Canada for a number of years, and was one of the first guys to ever actually use a cell phone, if you can believe it, as a salesperson. Prior to that, when I was selling in the Toronto area. When I moved out west, I basically was the guy that went and trained clients on how to do desktop publishing and explaining to them the differences between a JPEG and a PNG file and all that sort of thing, and how to use software, and navigated that company in Western Canada to keep their leadership position in the graphic art industry by being able to convert to desktop publishing from previous proprietary systems, which were these large mainframe things. Then I wound up coming back to Ontario. I worked for a national association. Tim, you'd probably be familiar with them. It was the Gideons International in Canada. They are headquartered in Guelph, Ontario, which is where I'm living now. This is the reason I'm here. I actually went from being a vice president of an ad agency in Ottawa, which is the nation's capital, to coming to Guelph and taking a position with the Gideons, and I was responsible for their technology and communications. I ran their graphic department, communications department. I basically navigated them through an enterprise system, which included an online component. But this was all proprietary technology. It was Microsoft-based technology, and that was just around the time that Joomla came on the scene. They had just gone through the split in with Mambo, and I have been asking the guys that were doing this enterprise system. We were building different modules. We had modules for the warehouse inventory, and then the accounting and all kinds of stuff. And we put a new module in, and I asked the guy, where's the search function for this module? And he says, oh, there is no search function for the module. I says, are you kidding me? I said, why would you have anything that's database driven, a component that has no search function? He says, well, it has to be custom built. I couldn't believe it. So this is when I started looking around to see what else was out there. And that's when I bumped into Joomla. And I needed to learn it, and I knew it couldn't replace the enterprise system. But what we did is I built an intranet with the thing internally, and that's how I learned Joomla. And it was amazing what you could do. And then we started rapidly deploying public sites for different things that weren't needed, to be connected to that enterprise system. And it was really amazing what went on. And my story of how I got involved in Joomla starts pretty much right there, because something very unusual happened, which nobody expected, even myself. I wound up going to Joomla.org to the forums because I needed to learn how to use this. And at the time, there was already tens of thousands of active people in that forum, and it was just going gangbusters. So I registered on the forum, and you don't need to use your real name. So I thought, this is cool. I can pick just a name. So the first thing that came to my head was JoeJoomla, and it was available. So I thought, cool, I got JoeJoomla. And then it says, you can upload an avatar. And I thought, what have I got on my computer? So I looked around my computer, and I had this little cartoon avatar of Clark Kent ripping his shirt open and revealing his Superman S. I thought, that's cool, because my last name is Sonne. Nobody would know that, but I thought, okay, it's kind of relevant, and I used that as my avatar. So I now was JoeJoomla with the Superman avatar in the forum. And I needed to learn how to use Joomla. And so I started asking questions, and nobody was paying any attention to me, because when you've got an active forum, your question just gets buried like within no time flat. And so I thought, looks like I have to do my own research. So what I did is I started answering my own questions on the forum. So my question is, how can I develop Joomla websites on my local computer instead of having to do it on a server on the internet? And nobody was answering that question. So I did some research, and then, I found out that you could use this thing called MAMP. And on the PC side, it's XAMPP, but it's MAMP. And most of the people in the forum were either Linux guys or they were Windows guys, so they were using PCs. But I was from the advertising industry, and I'd always use Macs, so MAMP was the thing, which stands for Macintosh, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. that's an acronym. And so I started answering my own question. And then I wound up doing a whole explanation of how you go about creating Joomla websites using MAMP on your local Macintosh, which later became the #1 Google thing. If you ever did a search for Joomla and MAMP or MAMP and Joomla, I had a #1 Google ranking for like a decade and a half. And now even if you do that search, it still comes up in the first 3 or 4, and those things are like ancient. And so I'm busy doing all this stuff, and then out of the blue, someone posts a question to me, directed at me, and they said, JoeJoomla, what are you trying to say with your username and your avatar? And I thought, oh my goodness, someone's actually knows I exist. And I better say something nice, profound. It's my one chance to interact. So I thought about it and I typed back. I said, well, Superman to me represents a guy with superpowers, but he's got a very servant-like, attitude, and he doesn't use his superpower for personal gain, but he uses it for the benefit of others, and that's sort of kind of what I said. The next thing that happened was that in the Joomla forums, JoeJoomla became the most popular person in the Joomla community for the next 2 months straight. So they were using a simple machine forum bulletin board, and at the bottom they would have statistics. So the statistics would say what is the most popular post, what is the most, anyways, it was my thread on every single bit of information about. So there was no way you could miss JoeJoomla and that thread. And every single person that was anybody jumped into the thread, and it went nuts. And then all of a sudden, I started getting all these personal messages from the Joomla leadership, because they didn't know if I was some former Mambo guy trying to sabotage the project, because the whole thread on the forum was just fun and games. It had nothing to do with Joomla, because I didn't know anything about Joomla. And I was just going, oh, this is really cool what you can do in this bulletin board. And we started doing all this fancy formatting with the text and posting poems and doing stupid stuff. And everybody was getting involved. And now I'm getting these people from the leadership personal messaging me and asking me, please knock it off. And it's like, oh. And then the person that had asked the question, who was on leadership, started defending me and saying, this is how you form community. And now I'm finding out that I've created this huge fight internally in the current Joomla leadership at the time, because this one person's defending me and everyone else thinks that some nutcase is trying to ruin the project. And finally, someone asked me nicely, please stop. This is a serious open source software project, and we need to treat this like such. And I said, okay, well then would it be okay if I went and I made my own website, JoeJoomla.com, and put my own forum over there and take all the fun and games over there? And they said, please do. And I had help from some of the best Joomla developers at the time set that all up. And we went over, and the day that JoeJoomla.com launched with the bulletin board over there, and I told that person in the Joomla leadership that it had now launched, they said, thank you. And then they deleted every single post in that thread. They deleted the whole thread of JoeJoomla, what are you trying to say with your username and avatar? And now nobody even knows that that existed. But that was the launch of JoeJoomla.com, and that's basically why I exist in the Joomla community. Oh, wow. I've worked on some really big projects. Interestingly enough, that first project that I ever did was an intranet, and some of my biggest projects have been intranets for corporations. And with the Guelph General Hospital, they have a Joomla-based intranet that I'm responsible for. And so my best work cannot be viewed publicly because they are all private intranets for companies or organizations. And other than that, they've got a couple of really cool websites. Some of them are not real big, but they're really cool. For example, I'm hoping really soon for an airport website to be launched shortly. And there's a learning management portal that has been set up, which is a really big project that is ongoing with a current client using a product that one of your previous interviewees, Parth,
Oh,
his
so you're
company,
using Siksha or
Shika.
something?
We
Shika,
use Shika
Shika.
for it, and it's
Wow.
actually pretty cool, and a number of other things. And so I interact with Part a fair bit on that one. So yeah, intranets, corporate ones, and ones for organizations, and then the few odd sites here and there.
Joe, you've been with Joomla for a long time, almost since the beginning of it, whether formally or informally. Where do you see Joomla a couple of years down the road?
Uh, it's going to continue to be used by the people that know how powerful it is. And when I first found out about Joomla, because I'm not a back end guy, I don't do the under the hood code. I'm not the PHP SQL guy. I'm more the front end guy and the strategy and the marketing kind of thing. I had to ask some people that I respected who were senior level developers, uh, tell me what you feel about Joomla. And this was back when Joomla was like Joomla 1.0, then Joomla 1.5. And I always asked the question from what I think are very unbiased senior level PHP developers. I said, what is your opinion of Joomla, the code? And they have consistently told me it is the best written code under the hood of any content management system, public or private, that they know of. And it remains that way even today. So, despite all of the whatever people hear about Joomla, those that are really in the know how powerful it is. And Joomla is not going to go away. It may not be as popular as some of the other ones, but for the guys that know how to use it, they could build amazing websites with it. And I have been watching a little bit about what's going on with Joomla 4. I'm actually involved in a project right now with a client, and we are building a very, very cool component for Joomla 4 that when it is ready to go and we announce it, will be very exciting for the Joomla project and the Joomla community at large, because it's got that cool factor and it's new tech and people are going to be able to do some amazing things with it.
A follow-up question on there. You said a lot of people are going to be using it who know the power of Joomla. Is that enough to keep Joomla afloat? Don't we
You know,
need to obtain new users, developers in the Joomla ecosystem?
yeah, this is a topic of conversation for the marketing team, something that I was involved with when we were at the Forum for the Future, and that's where I saw Tim in Spain, Forum for the Future. And uh, yes, you do need to attract new young developers into the Joomla developer ecosystem, but when somebody does discover it, they'll realize that it's very, very flexible. And the kinds of people that are making the decisions about what platform to use, especially when it comes to IT departments and the internal corporate IT areas, they're not afraid to embrace Joomla because they actually get it. They understand what it can do. So Joomla will always have a place. It may not always be the most popular thing, but honestly, does like how many people drive Ferraris? How many people drive Lamborghinis? Versus how many people drive, mid-size, regular domestic vehicle. There's an area of specialization that it'll always be there. And so unless something uh, radically changes that does what Joomla can do and do it so much better that everybody just says, oh, well, I'm done with Joomla and flock to something else. I think it will be there. And there's enough smart people that are still involved in the Joomla development that have a vested interest in keeping this technology viable because their businesses are dependent upon it. There's a guy that I met at the Forum for the Future who has a Joomla-based business overseas and said to me that their best year ever was last year. So for him, Joomla is a very viable thing. And so unless they completely blow it, and I don't know why they would, it's not going away.
Not intentionally, right? I'm not saying
Right.
someone's intentionally blowing it, but I know you're comparing Ferrari to Joomla, which is not everyone uses it, but it's still a good product. And probably, I don't want to name WordPress, but other CMSs which are very popular to a regular sedan vehicle or some average vehicle where a lot of people use. So the difference is if you have something very unique, not everyone's going to use it, but it's still going to stay unique. And if you have something that's common, everyone's going to use it, but it's not going to be unique. Now I get that part, but the problem is, I think Ferrari or Lamborghini or Rolls-Royce, they're selling it for a very expensive price, and they probably have cash flow for next 5 decades to continue development for their products. I don't think Joomla has that, and or has, I could be wrong, but I don't think Joomla has that or that powerful community because Joomla does not run necessarily on cash flow only. It's the community that runs it. So if we don't have volunteers who are testing and coding, we're in trouble, right?
Right. That okay. So I see your point, and but I'll say this: people are flocking. Developers need to earn a living, so they're going to go where the money is. And right now, a lot of people are going where the money is, which is the popular one. And the reason that a project like WordPress or something else is more popular is that they are able to do things financially that the Joomla project can't do. And this may not be a popular opinion, but it's my personal opinion. There are no corporate companies, no potential corporate sponsors that are impressed that Joomla is a volunteer project. They're not impressed by that. Everybody's looking for a return on investment. So if and I was involved in and still am involved in the capital committee, which is the only team in the Joomla project that brings money into the project. Everybody likes to spend money, but you got to bring money in if you're going to have any money to spend. And so if you want to sponsor, like if I go to your company and I say, hey, would you consider being a sponsor for the Joomla project? And you would say to me, okay, what am I going to get in return for the money that I give you? And now I have to promise you stuff. I have to keep those promises. I have to fulfill those obligations. That's not as easy to do in a volunteer organization as one that's actually got say, a professional team that's behind it and money to do things. So it's a hard lesson to learn when I first got on the Capital team that I couldn't make promises because everything was based on volunteers doing it voluntarily, and that is a handicap in that area of bringing in money. So other projects have corporate money behind them. And so when you hear of somebody, though, that, threw millions of dollars at something, I have to tell you, I'm very envious that they have that kind of backing, because the Joomla project, the community has prided itself on being volunteers. And so if they're going to remain a volunteer-based project exclusively, the consequences will be what it is, which means that developers need to earn a living. Why would you work so hard on your full-time job where you earn a living and then spend, a whole bunch of time more doing volunteer stuff for an open source project, unless, it somehow gave you a thrill? Speaking of the whole volunteerism thing, I actually wondered if there was something wrong with me for being a Joomla volunteer. I thought, I wonder if there's a medical condition associated with serial volunteerism. And I actually did go Googling to find out if that was a thing or not. And thankfully it isn't.
Tim, send him the falling plates video. Yeah.
Falling plates video. I think Joe knows all about the falling plates video. If there was a medical condition, it was probably masochism. But given the situation we're in right now with the pandemic, and I'm not paralleling the pandemic with anything, but we dearly would love to be able to go back in time and self-isolate a month earlier, handle things a bit different a few months earlier. Some countries would like to go back years and elect a different leader, so they had something different now. And I think that, when Joomla 4 comes out, and I mean, Joel, you said you're working with a company to develop a super exciting component for it. This is going to be exciting for the Joomla community and for Joomla 4. When Joomla 4 comes out, I hope that instead of us all wishing and continuing to focus on wanting to build a time machine and go back and do things differently or see what happened, this is going to be our chance to really enjoy something shiny and new. Maybe it's going to, of course, it's going to need some tuning up. There's going to be things, but we don't know what Joomla 4 will bring and the impact it will have and the attention it will draw and the applications and users that it will attract as well.
Well, Joomla missed an opportunity. They made mistakes. When you talk about if you could go back in the past, would you change something? And I definitely would, because I know that I argued back in time that you cannot leave the user base that you built up. You cannot leave them behind and not carry them forward. Otherwise, you have to start from scratch and build a whole new community around a whole new product. And when you make it very difficult for your user base to move forward with you, then, like one of your other guests said a few weeks back, I believe it was, that they have options. If it's expensive to move forward, if it's hard to move forward, then they're going to look at other options. If I'm going to spend all this money to move forward, then why don't I look at something different? And that's
Right.
a problem. So the other projects didn't leave their communities behind, although arguably Drupal just did that with the new Drupal 8 apparently. And I don't know enough about that, but I heard a little bit about it. But I think it was a mistake. And part of the reason that mistake got made in the Joomla community was because Joomla was or is perceived as a software project for developers, people that want to do interesting things, and they didn't really have a commercial vested interest in Joomla.org per se, because they were getting their bread and butter from their full-time job. And Joomla for them was just a project that they did. I mean, it's more complicated than that, but basically what I'm saying is the people that founded Joomla, they wanted to do something and they wanted to do cool things. And then when new technology came along, they weren't that interested in pulling the community forward and making it. It's like, no, this is a developer software project. And, if you're a developer, you're going to know how to do stuff. They weren't thinking about the users per se. They were thinking about developers. And that may be an unpopular opinion. And again, it's my opinion. But when I come from the community side of Joomla. I do not come from the developer side of Joomla. I represent the bridge between the end user, the client, and myself, which would be, say, probably best described as an integrator and, a user, a marketer.
So, switching things a bit more, focusing on you personally, what is something that you learned later in life that you would go back and tell a younger you?
Not to get involved with the Joomla community. Oh my
Wow.
goodness. You know what? I was able to do what I did with Joomla because of my previous career success. Like prior to being in that national nonprofit organization, which paid me very well, by the way. I was in sales and I made lots and lots of money, and it was fun making lots of money and doing things. So that when I started my Joomla business, I suddenly wasn't making that kind of money anymore. But Joomla is like this Venus flytrap or something. You get sucked into it and you get involved. So my younger self would have been maybe I would have said to myself, focus more on the business side of things. Don't get so wrapped up in trying to do everything yourself. And that was always what my problem was. I started my business later in life, and I did that because I didn't want to be a business owner while I was raising my young family, because I'd seen too many people sacrifice their families and their marriages to get their businesses to be successful. And I thought, I'm not going to do that. So it was a lot harder to start a business later in life. I think you have more energy. You can afford to make more mistakes when you're young because you bounce back quicker. So that would have been my advice. Maybe if you're going to start a business, start younger, or don't think about starting a business later in life. Just continue to do something for someone else.
Joe, who is someone who is or was a major contributor to where you are today?
In regards to Joomla?
No, in regards to anything.
Okay, so that's a great question, and there's several individuals. I have been extremely fortunate that in pretty well 95% of my career, I was hired by either the founder of a company or the president or owner or the operating manager of a company. So I was always given a privileged position with companies and got to hear the stories, the entrepreneurial stories of these people. And I learned things that the average person who works for those people would never get the privilege of hearing. And what I found out is that while you're sitting back thinking that the guy that owns the business is living the easy life, a lot of times people don't know that he's the one that's taking all the risk. He actually goes sometimes many months with no paycheck in order for the employees all to have a paycheck, so he doesn't lose his best people. And there are sacrifices that those people make that the people who think they have it made do not see, and they don't understand. And that gave me a very different point of view about working for someone else. I thought, if you don't work for a company the way that as if it was your own company. In other words, if you don't treat your company that you work for like you own this company, then you're actually shortchanging it, because the success and profitability of the company depends on everyone, not just a few people. So my thanks go out for the people that hired me out in Western Canada, a man named Blago Histovsky. I have great admiration for a guy that hired me previously in Toronto for a company, and his name was Pete, and Pete taught me, he kind of mentored me, got me started in my sales career. And yeah, he's long retired now. Those are two main people. Before that, there was a guy who's passed away now. His name was Keith Bagg. He owned a company in Toronto, and uh, these are all founders and or high level management people that gave me insight into what it takes to be successful at a business. And while I'm at it, I have to say, and I really am very, very fortunate. Why did that happen to me? Why was I? And those are just three examples. There's like a handful of other ones as well too, where it was a partner in a business that hired me, or it was the owner. And why does that happen? Well, a lot of the reason that it happened is because as a salesman, and that was what my early career was being a salesman. Usually the owner of the company wanted the last say. Who is this guy that's representing my company? And as for the guy out west, when he hired me, I had come from Toronto to Winnipeg, Manitoba, by the way, which was where that company was situated. And he hired me as a salesman to represent his company. And he told me, you have a review after 12 months to see how you did. And I thought, yeah, no problem. But he wouldn't let me out of the building for the first 3 months that I worked for them. And I going like, what's going on? Why would you do that? He says, oh, no. He says, you don't know anything about our company. You know about where you came from, and we need you to sell our company. So they wanted me to spend 1 full month in their 3 main departments, which was photography, desktop publishing, and a pre-press film. And they said, you're going to spend a month in every one of those departments and learn our business so that when you get out on the road, you are selling us. You're not selling something else. And I thought, wow, that's it. And that they were very, very smart to do that. I wound up being the top salesperson in Western Canada in short order. And I had some of the biggest accounts. I had people phoning me, asking me to do their business for our company to do their business the way we were doing it for their competitors. That's the reputation that I had in those industries, and it comes solely because people did things the way that they should be done. And today a lot of people don't do that. They're just trying to, if you throw a salesperson out on the street to represent your company and you say you're going to make it or break it all by yourself in 3 months, if you're not successful, we get you out of here. That is the worst thing anybody could do for their company, because guess what? That person represents their company and they're trying to sell to their customers, and their customers are sitting back there going, oh, this is the third sales guy from that company. They don't stay around long. There must be something wrong. And if you don't realize is that's the perception that's being put out there with that kind of treatment, then you really personally don't have a clue on how this should be done.
And I think what you just did, Joe, looking back, is that when we look back and see who have helped us along the way, it brings us into mind to how we got to where we are today. And even though that's very much of a looking back, it really gives us a forward-looking focus, because we see what we've got, and now we can look at where we are today, be grateful, and then also say, okay, what needs to be done now? What's the circumstances? Let's move forward and let's build on that. And I think that's really important, especially for the days that we're living in now.
Right. And by the way, that guy named Pete that was in Toronto that I wanted to give a shout out to, he is a former Boston Bruins backup goaltender, and played with Bobby Orr and all those guys, Derek Sanderson and the Esposito brothers and all that. So I had a lot of fun in my career. So Pete Crosby is his name, and Don Cherry remembers him because Don Cherry was the coach at the time. And so, I've had a lot of fun in my career and a lot of really, really interesting experiences.
Chayton, you don't know who Don Cherry is, but he's someone who dresses very much like you.
Okay.
No, he doesn't. I will show you some pictures afterwards.
He's a notorious Canadian celebrity.
Now it's time for Rapid Fire. Joe, I'm going to ask you some questions and you can answer them as briefly and quickly as possible, which often ends up in longer discussions, but that's okay.
Okay.
All right. Beside the regular suspects, name a favorite Joomla extension that is not one of yours.
A favorite. Oh my goodness. Well, JCE editor, I guess, is extremely popular and everybody uses it. But a Keep a Backup is probably the most valuable extension that I know of.
Now, those are both regular suspects, but we'll let you away with it if you tell us what the new extension is that you're working on for Joomla 4.
Let me just put it this way. It is so new and in technology that it'll revolutionize some publishing. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, you heard it here first. Joe's working on an extension that is using technology that was brought back by one of the Terminators.
Right.
It's the future. Okay, what's an extension you would like to see developed that doesn't exist for Joomla now?
The one that I'm doing.
Okay, that was What is the one thing that you'd like to change in Joomla, assuming you were in charge?
I actually have a question. What would if you had total authority, how would you change Joomla? That's actually a question on one of my blogs in JoeJoomla.com. And every time I go out and do a talk, I invite people to post on it. So there's been some fantastic ideas that have been put up there. But personally, what would I like to see about Joomla? I would like to see Joomla leadership be people that are in a position where they can actually they don't have to depend on their full-time job for sustenance. In other words, these would be technology people that are doing it for the love of it, and money's not a problem for them. They can just pour their heart and soul into it and do amazing things. The incredible opportunities that it's given me. I've met people both on the client side and in the community from all around the world. Daily, I deal with people from the four corners of the globe, and I've met a lot of these people in person as well. And I never in my wildest dreams ever believed that I would be giving talks in different countries around the world. I actually spent a weekend in India at a Joomla World Conference a couple of years ago. I've spoken at MIT and Harvard University, even though I was never a student there, about Joomla. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, those were Joomla conferences. I mean, we had some of those things at the Google or eBay or whatever buildings, and Microsoft opens them up. But it's given me an opportunity to go in and see some of these things. I've got a really cool pullover sweater from Duke University because there was a Joomla Day at Duke University, and what a cool place! I never would have got in there. It's a business school university, and but yet I was there. I was able to talk about Joomla along with a bunch of other Joomla people.
Now we can tell that you're excited for Joomla 4 and you're excited about this soon to be released extension. What's another reason why you're excited about Joomla 4?
Because it's like you have said in the past, it's this baby that's been that needs to be birthed. Once it gets out there, I think then we can get on with what's next for Joomla, which would be Joomla 5. And the reason I think that's really cool is because I've heard some fantastic ideas from people about what Joomla 5 should actually be. And it may be a completely different Joomla than all the previous Joomlas before.
All right.
I'm sorry.
What are you laughing about?
You sound like Donald Trump there. It's going to be so great.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be great. And then what part are you gonna have in it, Chayton?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We don't have Joomla 4 yet, and we're talking about Joomla 5. It just came to my mind. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You
We'll manage
have to
part
think
out.
about those things because you know what? This is the reason that in the past that I've been successful in business is being able to look ahead and make good choices. Because if you make the wrong one, and I'll give you an example of that. There was a time when I thought, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to go into the publishing business, and I had a contract sitting in front of me to buy a huge amount of typesetting equipment. And for people who don't know what typesetting equipment is, let's just say it's real old technology. Because I thought, you know what, this is the wrong decision because desktop publishing is going to take over, and it did. So I made the choice of rejecting a technology and going with something that actually proved to be the right choice. And if you're not doing that, your future is going to be tenuous at best if you make the wrong choices.
Name someone who contributes a lot to Joomla.
Everybody on leadership. People don't understand that they spend a incredible amount of time. Someone asked me one time, "Oh, I'm thinking of getting involved in Joomla leadership. What kind of time commitment should I be thinking about?" And I said to them, "Probably 20 hours a week if you're going to take on that kind of responsibility." And they just went, "What? I can't do that. Like, I have a business." And so I just like to throw it out there for all the flack that people who are in any Joomla leadership position, people need to understand that these people are actually putting in a lot of hours. And again, that's why I went looking for a medical condition to describe it. Why do they do this? And but they do. So my thanks goes out to all of the people who have been presidents, vice presidents, treasurers, secretaries, team leaders, production people, former production leadership guys, all of those guys. I think that the Michael Babkers, the Andrew Eddies, the Johan Janssens of the past, all these people, George now, Wilson, are putting their heart and their time that could be spent doing something else. And you know what? And people give them a hard time. And it's just like, wow, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you be anything but supportive?
And that's the end of Rapid Fire.
Joe, is there anything we didn't ask you would like to mention?
I'd like to thank you guys for doing what you are doing. I know that you've heard that there's been other Joomla radio shows. I don't know if any of you guys remember Joom Stew Radio.
I only know about Joomla Beat from Australia, but last episode was at the end of 2017. Yeah.
Right. So before that, there was Joom Stew, and Joom Stew was run by a guy out of Texas, and there was a lady that also helped him. She's currently in the Boston area now. And on my website in the media area, I have some references to being on Joom Stew radio shows, and it was very much like this. And the reason that it didn't continue on is that doing what you're doing takes a lot of effort and time. And what do you get out of it? And one day, if you decide, I'm not getting out of this what I need to be getting out of it, it may end. So I'd like to thank you guys for doing what you are doing, because I know it's not trivial to do what you do. And it's very cool that you're giving people an opportunity to get out here, and that people get an opportunity to hear some of the people, the brilliant people, like you guys are talking to some absolutely talented and amazing, brilliant people with skills and abilities that I am extremely envious of, and the world needs to know about these people.
Oh yeah, thank Tim. He does the editing. I only exchange emails with you and other speakers. So.
Chayton's doing a lot of stuff, but thanks, Joe. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
How can people reach out to you?
I'm Joe at JoeSonne.com. That comes directly to me. JoeJoomla at JoeJoomla.com also comes to me. So I'm on Twitter as JoeJoomla. There's also Twitter Joe Sonne. And you can, hit the forms on either the JoeJoomla or the JoeSonne.com website and send me a message. I'm easy to get a hold of. I was actually going to say phone me at and then post Tim's phone number.
I do have a burner number that I use on domain registration.
Okay, all right.
So you can give them that one if you want.
And as you can see, I like to have a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
We all really, really work really, really hard. And if we're not having any fun, why are we doing what we're doing?
Exactly. We kind of knew each other a bit before I went to Spain, and we got to spend those days at Forum for the Future, and always happy to have another Canuck here on the podcast. You're the second one we've interviewed. The first one was Allison Weeks. But Joe, thanks for coming on the show today.
You're most welcome. It was my pleasure to be here.
Thanks for that. Thanks for everything that you do. So, Cheyenne, that's the end of another episode.
Yes, indeed. JoomCast is recorded live on locations. This time it was India, Canada, and Canada. Using Zoom, Audacity, and a tube of crazy glue holding our helmets to the steel beam above us. Sure, we stayed 6 feet away from each other. If you want to reach me personally, my Twitter handle is @ChaitanMadan. If you want to reach Tim, you can reach him at BasicJoomla. Until next time, wash your hands, stay inside, and enjoy your Joomla sites.
God bless.